Aha, this is a great question because I had to, think about that.
Music is impossible to talk about.
So music to me, it's really hard to describe as for everyone.
A statement of what's called freedom.
It's one of the best ways to communicate.
Music is something that happens in time, seems to be almost ephemeral, and yet still invades us and gets inside us in ways that other kinds of expressive media don't.
That kind of sense that music and spirituality and love and humanity and grace and beauty and joy are all the same thing, really. You can't parse them out.
It's beauty, it's expressivity, it's sense of conveying what is the finest about the human spirit.
Question that can go through your mind, whether it's your first experience with it or your 1000th experience with it, is what is going on here? What are they trying to do? What is do I really want to sit through this?
What does this music mean in the real world? For instance, there are people without water. There are people starving. There are people who are wrongfully incarcerated.
I didn't know anything about contemporary music. I hadn't heard any. I just knew this opportunity was in Hyde Park, and I may as well go over and see what it was all about.
We live in times that are oftentimes quite troubling, quite worrying. And so to have a musical expression of some of those doubts, as well as some of those possibilities, I think can be really important.
And people learned that they can't just dismiss a new work and say, oh, I hated that because whatever, for whatever reason. I just can't stand this music. I'll never listen to it again. Well, you just have to tell them, Brahms was hated. He got terrible reviews. And Beethoven a lot of people didn't like Beethoven. I mean, they didn't like anything new and different. And we're still trying to figure out some of those composers, aren't we?
But I'd be remiss if I didn't say that there wasn't another thing that I thought contemporary music could do, and do very well, which is to open up new kinds of sound worlds, things that we hadn't imagined before, didn't even know we could imagine.
You have to know the classics. You just have to do that. And you love them. I mean, you do. But there's a new set of music here to love just as well. And having that as a goal to learn how to learn. The music isn't that hard. They're notes on paper. They just go different directions. That's what I always thought.
This program is to create a cinematic document of CONTEMPO, the contemporary chamber players of the University of Chicago, as it prepares to celebrate next season its 50th anniversary, 50 years of presenting bold new music to the public. It is a special moment for us.
You're stuck with me. That was a shapy line, absolutely. And Len Meyer was was the man who brought him here, and he was part of a package with the Rockefeller Foundation. That was the grant, and they could do anything they wanted in any way they wanted to. At the U of C, they had students who were registered as students, and they took courses, and they played in the CCP, the Contemporary Chamber Players, and they formed it. The mission of the group was to, as the foundation said, to make the roses bloom in Chicago. Well, that's what happened. No one talked about it. No one said, we have this educational mission, but it was so obvious there that that's exactly what it was. It was a mission.
I think the really interesting thing about Contempo is that as the Contemporary Chamber Players, it came out of the work of Ralph Shapey as a composer, but as a composer who not only wanted to have his students involved in the actual hearing compositions that they had created, but also the compositions of other important voices in contemporary music, and to really bring that as part of the educational experience.
He had a set ensemble of musicians that know how to play together, love to play together, play beautifully together. And it was really a tradition and something that was very important in the United States. And in fact, the whole catalog of works that were played and commissioned is something that the university is and should be extremely proud of.
After Ralph died in 2002, it was the end of an era. And when an era comes to an end, always there is a slump. But it didn't ever die. And Shulamit Ron came into the picture, and she had a vision. She really was a visionary.
I have to say, one of the things that meant to me the most from the first time that Ralph Shapey and I talked in 1973 was the knowledge that there was the Contemporary Chamber Players of the University of Chicago.
Shulamit Ron, my friend and colleague, picked up where Ralph Shapey left off, and I guess the name got changed to Contempo, but essentially it's the same wonderful tradition that the university has always believed in. And she's done an absolutely amazing job with the Contempo series.
The structure of Contempo is rather unusual in that it has 10 musicians that are the core members of Contempo. Pacifica String Quartet and Eighth Blackbird, two very different types of ensemble. Pacifica, of course, plays, in addition to the music of our time, they play the great repertoire of the past, and therefore also have the kind of sound that comes from a well-rounded, broad type of approach to music. And the other ensemble, Eighth Blackbird, made up of 2 woodwind instrumentalists, 2 string players, piano and percussion. That is a quintessentially 20th and 21st century type ensemble. And of course, we add guest performers as necessary, and we have Cliff Colnett as our conductor, and Cliff brings tremendous authority and expertise and passion to his performances.
The opportunities that Contempo has provided me and the other composers are just truly, really exceptional. I think the privilege of working with such amazing musicians, just having them available to us, it's just really a privilege, I think. I knew that we had this opportunity to compose an opera for Contempo because, a handful of others have done this because they're able to bring in some extra outside musicians, and in this case, they brought in some singers.
The top performances are very important because the problem today is that when you have the contemporary music and the pieces perform badly, blame goes for the composer, not for the player. But of course, if the bad player will come and play Beethoven badly, everybody said not the Beethoven is bad composer, but the player is bad.
It's important to have, it's just tremendous experience to have professional performance while you're a student, while you're still young.
And yet, I always say to my students, nothing will teach you more than being able to hear your own work played back at you. This is where your most important lessons will happen. We have an extraordinary list of places all over the world, across the globe, that our students come from. And it's a powerful group of young people.
I'm from Argentina. I was born and raised in Buenos Aires.
Could the ensemble play that once? Because it's all this talk about death, and that's the first sort of like bursting out one. Can you just put that on tape loud once, even though you might hate that? And then the second one would be Q11. Can you do it differently? Just do something different? Yes. So we can get that on tape? Yes. Just to put it on tape. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but it does? Okay, because it feels to me like the energy of the piece right there could use a real blast.
For instance, by integrating modern revolutionary meaning in terms of death does history upon evolution.
Louder, Q2 would be a little bit more mezzo forte, like dying down. Or that's too much of a change for now?
It's a little bit complicated.
Okay.
I will pay attention.
It's the end, where the worlds change into something was universal. I would surprise us again and suddenly do something like, you know. Yeah. So you have this going on, which is already a surprise, but whoa, you're turning it around.
I agree. Yeah, I can do that.
It'll be much more, I mean, the whole thing is now transformed dramatically.
With the death, such a correct individual provides the recipe for integrating. Optionally, this recipe will retain its plausibility when his own death is imminent and will allow him, indeed, to die correctly.
Originally, I'm from South Korea. I earned my bachelor's degree in biological science and composition in South Korea, and I came to the United States in 2008. When I was looking for several other universities, University of Chicago was the best place to study music composition and theory. Could you do first time forte? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Next time.
Like an echo. Oh yeah,
just echo.
That would be nice.
Both times.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first time forte, dim, and then second time echo.
Okay. Just echo.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, much better. Thank you.
I think it sounds fabulous. So fiery, so passionate, very, the clarinet and the string quartet blend incredibly well together. Just beautiful, beautiful.
Specific timings, but
my name is Alican Çamcı, and I am a student of composition at the University of Chicago, originally from Turkey, Istanbul. For the upcoming concert, I wrote a piece for septet, 7 players, that includes some of the members of 8 Blackbirds, as well as the violist from Pacifica Quartet, Masumi Perlosta.
I'm from Curitiba, a city in Brazil, and I chose to come to the University of Chicago, first of all because very reputable teachers and there was funding. Being around very advanced scholars in fields other than music was also very interesting to me. The university offered, for instance, very big performance opportunities for composers, which was really important. The piece that I wrote for this Contempo concert is called Quiet Rooms.
I think there's something very wonderful about approaching music without the boundaries of categories, without saying, okay, this is classical art music, this is jazz, this is whatever, putting it into little boxes. This whole idea began maybe 14, 15 years ago, hearing Patricia Barber perform at the Green Mill. And I remember myself being so engaged by the experience of hearing her and saying to myself, I want to share this. I want to share this with my students. I want to share this with my colleagues. I want everyone to hear this. And so once a year, we have developed the double bill, where on the first half we perform classical contemporary music, and on the second half we have music of another genre. It's mostly been jazz, and we've had some incredible artists, and I think there is a dialogue that happens between the two kinds of music, just as there is a dialogue happening between the audiences. And this year we celebrated the 10th anniversary of the double bill, and who else but Patricia Barber? She was the right person to bring back to this moment.
Let's lie, let's wait here for the moon to light the shore, to swim, to sleep, to love too deep, too late to stop. Let's not.
The Contempo double bill is a challenge, but it's also very exciting. It's exciting to me to introduce an audience to jazz that might not be exposed to jazz. I'm aware that they may be there for the contemporary classical music, and so in some way I try to skew the music a bit to their ears, just to grab them enough and then to bring them on my journey. So that's how I feel about my role in the double bill.
Scream if thousands speak as one. God will be there.
The dialogue between composers and people in research are always sort of tainted with this thing that composers are product-oriented, right? We need to make something happen, which is not necessarily always the case for research, that they can allow more time to sort of like not being focused into delivering something.
I think research is still the main focus, but the research at the end is creativity. So they meet actually here. I think it's very important to maintain research in a very creative way.
There's also an interpenetration between the arts and the disciplines, where they're really learning from each other and there's a dynamic relationship developing, and that's very exciting.
So I applied to actually a bunch of different PhD programs. I was looking at both composition and theory, and sometimes that can be seen as a liability because if you have a foot in both worlds, people see you as not fully committed to one or the other. But something that was really amazing about U of C was that I applied for theory, and I'm doing a theory PhD here, but I got responses from the composition faculty as well, and they were really excited about me trying to navigate both of these worlds during my time here. And there's been so many things at U of C that have helped me develop my ideas, and one really great thing that's been going on is a faculty reading group called the Voice Project. We just had a symposium last week where we brought in a few guests to kind of talk about the role of the voice, the ethics of the voice. This is a really hot topic right now, kind of across the humanities and even into social sciences and et cetera. And so being able to kind of investigate these questions from both the compositional and the theoretical standpoint has been really great for me. The title of the piece is the word end, period, but backwards, so .dne. It's really just a simple idea. It's a total of 4 notes, like 2 notes and then 2 notes and 2 chords.
And of course, one of the main things that we do and need to do in a research university is to perform the works of our students that are their dissertation. And the CONTEMPO series has year after year presented those dissertations for the students in their 5th or 6th year. And there's nothing more valuable than that.
I think that CONTEMPO really stands out because it represents an engagement with the scholarly work. And so this is a performance organization that's deeply embedded within the mission of the university. It also then represents 5 decades of that kind of creative work coming to fruition, creative work that really came out of the university's broader mission, not only research that is in the humanities or in the social sciences, but also the kind of research that artists do as they are exploring how the arts can really have a place within human life.
I have the most incredibly interesting colleagues in our department, in the music department, who never cease to amaze and intrigue me. I always find myself learning from them, conversing with them. This is something that has been so ever since coming to this university.
I think one of the things we like to do with the arts at the University of Chicago is also to ensure that different members of our community have a full and robust conversation about what the arts can be, how they can actually play an important part within our curriculum, within our research, but also within how we reach out to our communities as well.
It is incredibly gratifying to see the kind of audienceship that CONTEMPO has built. The music that characterizes CONTEMPO, it demands a listener that wants to be challenged. And that, to me, is one of the great rewards of seeing what has happened with CONTEMPO, how much this audience has grown.
One of the things that strikes me about this moment in history of CONTEMPO is that it's the 49th season. It's the year of the 10th double bill. Not many music groups have been in existence for 50 years. So the whole set of concerts represents what the university has achieved in the performing arts.
I work here for 13 years. When I go back, I carry a lot from this country to China. I carry my experience, carry my insights, and carry my education experience to China.
I'm a composer and I'm a human being, but they're exactly the same person. And I've always loved to teach, and so teaching is a really natural extension of everything that I do.
When you look at these professors teach, you realize that they love music. That's very important. You need to deliver that message from your body, from your eyes, from your language. The first thing is I try to let the students love music. I'm trying to let them embrace music at the very beginning. And then I try to give some knowledge of the music.
It's very powerful and it's overpowering. And that happens sometimes when you're listening to music, when you're performing music, and when you're composing too.
Somehow the pain can be absorbed within music. Shaping it with beauty makes the pain endurable. It's just as big as the world and encompasses everything.
I think when you look back at what are the things that we remember about prior eras, it's the arts. I think it is what is left by way of poetry, by way of music, by way of paintings. It is the deepest expression of what it means to be human.